Okay. Okay. Starting recording, and we talked about how to think about changing your habits or your life or thinking about something or starting a new food or adding something to your life and diet. The key here is to know that you have lots and lots of time. You can literally make a fresh decision every 3 hours with what you eat and what you do with your life. Let me shut the door. Foods to avoid. What is just as important as what you do take in is the things that you avoid. And we have been indoctrinated to use polyunsaturated fatty acids, which are extremely toxic to your health, probably one of the largest cause of heart disease and chronic inflammatory disease of all sorts. These are oils, the PUFAs, or polyunsaturated fatty acids, are oil that your body is just not used to. These are genetically modified, made from, Roundup laden grains, things like soy, canola, corn. Avoid all these in your cooking, folks. They will last on your shelf for 2,000 years. Anything that lasts that long is not food. It's plastic. We talked about the chemical structures of fats earlier, and so I will not go into that. But suffice to say, if you want to cook with saturated fats, coconut oil, palm oil, ghee, tallow, lard, those sorts of things. Avoid using grains that are improperly prepared, and that includes pretty much all breads you get in the outside world, which are not properly fermented. They're leavened in 3 hours. The outer kernels contain things called phytates and lectins that are not removed, and so these grains are toxic. We have an epidemic of gluten allergies and intolerance to bread. Maybe it's just an intolerance to badly prepared grains. Because I have seen people who are very allergic to regular bread if they eat fermented bread where all the phytates and lectins have been metabolized away by 8, 10, 12, 20 days of fermentation. They're perfectly digestible. Kids on the spectrum can eat them. People with MS who are very intolerant of wheat products can eat some of these breads. So yep.
Question, for removing phytates and lectins, I know you talked about soaking or otherwise keeping something for several days. I'm wondering if there's a shorter time where we see it removes most of them or some of them, or how does that schedule work?
A couple of days at a minimum. When you soak your oats, soak them for a couple of days. If you soak your wheat, soak it for a couple of days. Your corn, if you're making masa, if you're making tamale, whatever you're doing, it's a good, in every culture, historically, grains have been soaked, pounded, soaked and pounded and soaked, and fermented. And that makes them 20 times easier to digest. They also develop enzymes and probiotics that make it a much better, easily digestible preparation.
Great, thank you.
You want to wait?
have...
Yep.
No, I have... Okay, go ahead. I have another question.
Please.
You said wheat can be soaked, but that is the whole wheat to be soaked.
Yes.
But then what do you make out of that wheat? Like, I'm just trying to know what recipes, because I use wheat flour.
Oh, yes. You can soak the wheat flour.
Chapati.
Yes, you can soak the wheat flour too.
Soak in water?
Oh yeah, when you soak your wheat flour, when you make the dough, just leave it overnight or 2 nights and you will see that it ferments a little bit.
And then when you like prepare the dough, you want to keep it on the tabletop, that's it, out in the room temperature, not inside the fridge.
Depends on what your ambient temperatures are. If you live in a very hot place, maybe you want to refrigerate it and it'll still ferment. Maybe if you're living in a cold place, you can leave it on the counter where it will ferment. But it needs to be kept. It needs to be kept in such a way that all the poisonous materials break down and it's digestible.
But then it also changes its color if even if I refrigerate it. So suppose a dove looks like a light brown color, then it starts becoming little dark, and after 2 3 days it will be like completely with black spots. So is
Yes,
that black? It's bad or it's good?
the black is bad. That's mold growing on it. That is,
Okay.
yeah, that is not the fermentation you want. So what you, or it's getting oxidized, but mainly it is some sort of mold. So what you don't want to do is to give it air. So you pack it tightly and you will not get the brown spots.
Okay. And so that can, so the color will stay as it is.
Yes, the color will stay as it is. It'll just ferment a little bit.
It will
It
become sweet. Hmm.
it will have more almost more carbonation. It'll ferment a little bit. It's easier to, and you can judge it by how your family reacts to that. Some kids cannot tolerate the chapati flour that has been soaked for half a day. They need it for 2 or 3 days. Some children can tolerate it soaked for 2 hours. So it varies. It also varies by the grains. The modern day grains, the hybrid grains, some of the
Hmm.
GMO grains are very, very hard to break down in your body. So those you need to ferment more. So you just keep the dough for a longer time. And I would say get as much as possible organic
Hmm.
flours if you can.
Okay, so this can be done with any flour, like even
Yes,
ragi flour
yes,
or buckwheat, anything. You
yeah.
just need, depending upon, because at now here it is 30 degrees Celsius in the
Mm-hmm,
mornings,
mm-hmm,
but of course inside the house it is quite less, must
mm-hmm.
be around 25 or 27. So
Right.
with that, if I leave it out is also okay.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And if you add yogurt to it, it'll ferment faster. If you add a little cider vinegar to it, it'll ferment faster. You can add whey, which
Mm.
is buttermilk water to it, and it'll ferment and it'll impart a wonderful aroma and flavor to the end product as well.
Okay, thank you.
For those of you who have eaten sourdough bread, there's no comparison between straight bread and sourdough bread. It is delicious. When it's baked, there's this wonderful aroma that comes from this bread. Your body wants to eat it. So avoid white sugar, white flour, high fructose corn syrup, anything that's processed. And I can tell you, most of the stuff you get in restaurants contains all these 2 or 3 different things. Give me a hug. Sorry, giving my daughter a hug. Um, Hi, Renee.
Hi, good morning.
Avoid additives. Additives are one of the primary causes of neurodegenerative disease. The MSG, the benzoates, the nitrites in your bacon and ham, the dyes, the stabilizers. If you want to make ice cream, by all means make ice cream. Use your own whole cream and invest in an ice cream maker and make it without propylene glycol and all these other things that we have in our ice creams today. Avoid additives. Industrially processed foods exist in all the aisles of your grocery store except for the perimeter aisles. Avoid going to the center of a grocery store. This is where there are big profits and big disease lurk in those aisles. Anything that says natural flavors is a euphemism for MSG, hydrolyzed proteins, and terrible, terrible umami flavored toxic ingredients. CAFO, concentrated in animal feeding operations. Avoid CAFO meats, please. We can all afford to eat meat straight from the farmers. We can all do it, and it'll have a huge effect on our health. If you eat industrial meats, industrial chickens, industrial pork in particular, you're toast. You're toast. They are laden with antibiotics. They are laden with Roundup. They have inflammatory bowel disease, all these animals. They're pooping blood and diarrhea. They're living in their own excrement. They don't see sunshine. What you want is animals grown on pasture, and that means folks everywhere, California, Hawaii, and possibly even where you are, Vidya, you will find meats and eggs and birds that are not industrially grown and processed.
I have a question. So meat which is available in the supermarket, we shouldn't buy from them.
Nope, nope. Go
They
find a
mention
farmer.
it's organic. They mention that also, and no hormones.
Yes, if
No,
it's organic, no hormones, no antibiotics, buy it. But preferably, you want to go outside to your local farmer, actually see those animals on pasture, see what they're eating, and buy one of those. And I don't know what the situation where you are is. Are there farms around?
there are a few farms. Yeah, they're far from my place, but there are.
Okay,
But I
check
have
them
never
out.
visited them. Okay.
Hey, take your kids on a field trip. It's awesome to. We, through the Weston Price Foundation, are routinely doing field trips to farms. And that's a great way to see what they're putting in your food, guys. A farmer that's using poisons, look at the farmer's eyes. They look like the death washed over. Their pets are dying. Their dogs and cats look mangy. They got psoriasis. So you will know from looking at the people on the farm whether they're feeding their animals and their plants poisons or not. The children will have asthma, eczema, IBS, Crohn's and colitis, and their grandparents will have Parkinson's and MS. Not a farm that is growing non-poisonous foods. So one of my jobs as a chapter leader for the Sonoma County chapter of the Weston Price Foundation is to go to farms and just check on them. If they say organic, do they have organic feed? If you go to their farm, how do the people look? How do the families look? Do they look healthy? Do they look unhealthy? That'll give you a lot of clues. And once you trust, it's a relationship of trust. Once you trust a farmer, you're in a partnership. Their well-being is your well-being and vice versa. So it's important to make those relationships and have food be a big part of your budget, guys, not medicine. Medicine should not be a big part of your budget. Food. A lot of you are getting fluoridated water, lead in pipes, PCPs, pentachlorophenols, PCBs in your water, plastics, parasites, arsenic, which was used as a pesticide way back when. We have some in our groundwater, so make sure your water is clean, preferably spring water. If you find a spring near you, it's worth it to drive to the spring to collect water. I do it. A number of you have done it or continue to do it. Water is important. Water is especially important if you're, yeah?
Where is there a spring to get spring water?
At Stinson Beach, there's a spring. You can go to Stinson. There's up in Calistoga, there's springs. In Angwin, there's springs. You got to drive a little bit, but for you, the closest is the Stinson Beach spring, about a mile south of Stinson Beach. Carol.
So on the main,
on Route 1.
On Route 1, okay.
Yeah.
It's very easy to find. There's a lot of pipes just sticking out of the rock, and there's always people there filling up all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. What you're gonna do with contaminated water is you're gonna destroy your, anyone guess? Fluoride, chloride. What's that gonna destroy, guys?
Calcium?
Good. Not so much calcium, but what is in the same group of chemical elements as fluoride and chloride?
Iodine.
Iodine. It is going to displace the iodine in your thyroid. And women are very, very susceptible to this because they have lactated, they have children, and thyroid and iodine are key ingredients in their makeup.
If spring water is not available, then what should be the next?
Try filtering. The filtering will not take out the fluoride or the chlorine. You may want to supplement with iodine outside of your food, which is to eat more seaweed, maybe Lugol's iodine, a couple of drops in the water. Add things to your water to make it nutrient dense. Add mineral salt, potassium chloride, some iodine, some lemon juice, rosemary, basil, thyme. Make the water delicious and as nutrient dense as you can.
So do you know anything about these more expensive water filters that they sell? you connect it to your the water system in your kitchen sink or wherever in the house, but it's a more expensive type of water filter.
Kangen water.
And nothing can take out atoms, fluoride and molecules. Fluorine, chlorine, chloramines cannot be taken out no matter what anyone says. That can only be taken out by distillation. You distill the steam and then condense it into water. But
Okay.
it will take out other stuff. It'll take out some of the larger particles. It will not take out lead. Maybe lead can be precipitated out in some of these filters. Maybe there's things that precipitate the fluoride and chloride. That's unlikely. But the heavy metals can be precipitated out. But they have limited ability to do so. And you got to change the filter, change the precipitant or the things that coagulate those heavy metals so that you know you're actually getting clean water from making that big expenditure.
Okay. Okay, good. Because there's a company that started this in Japan. The name of the brand is Kangen water, and it's a unit, a water filter unit that they were, I mean, some years ago, I think in 2007, 8, something like that, that they were marketing and getting these sold, and $5,000 to buy a unit.
They say it's alkaline water.
Oh,
Something like that. But
yeah. You guys said there's someone whose pin is making pictures. Claudia's pin, it said.
Yeah.
So one other reason not to eat commercial breads is that most of them have the bromine in it, which also competes with the iodine.
Oh gosh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. They use that as a stabilizer. So please don't use brominated breads, couches, computers. Buy used cars. Used cars have less of the effluents that come from brand new cars with plastic and Scotch Guard and all that stuff. Yes, between bromine, fluorine, and chlorine, your thyroid is toast. That's why we have an epidemic of hypothyroidism from women drinking this water, being told by their doctors to drink a gallon of this water, which is absolutely toxic. If you are forced to drink tap water, don't drink too much of it. Eat food. Food will help to ameliorate some of the effects of bad water.
Yeah. Well, we're lucky in Hawaii because we have a lot of coconuts, and I know a lot of us drink the coconut water. And so, you know, that helps with even urinary tract infections. When you have a urinary tract infection, you drink that and pretty much, you know, in less than an hour or so, you're already feeling the effects. And also I found out, and I'm researching it, but the coconut water was used years ago as a substitute for blood transfusion.
IV, yeah, for infusions.
I couldn't believe that. You know, it's hard for me to believe, but
like saline, yeah. It's that good. It's that tonic for you.
Yeah.
It's absolutely critical to
so
use.
If there's no water in the world,
yeah,
you will survive on coconut water.
There you go. There you go. If you're
Plant
by the
a lot
ocean,
of coconuts, guys.
like you can find them here. But there's springs locally, and you know, if you have to drink water, drink it. But remember that it contains all this stuff, and you can eat other things. You can drink, you know, other fluids eat juicy vegetables or fruits, or you know, you don't have to overdose on water, especially bad water. When you go out to buy bottled water from springs, remember it's got xenoestrogens. The plastic is leaching into the water, so that's not a solution. That's not a solution.
I'm going to show off all the coconuts I got yesterday.
Oh, right now, show us your coconuts, please. Oh my goodness, they're gorgeous. Do you know how to chop the coconuts, Claudia?
Yeah, I was taught by a person. I have a weighted axe, and you go one time into it to kind of get through the husk, and then you crack it again. You first wash it really good, and then I just turn it over a bowl, and it drips out, and then the next down with it opens it all the way up. So I have a very easy system where I open them up. Yeah.
Wow, you got it down.
I have a video of it on Facebook somewhere. Maybe I'll try and find it.
But be sure to know that even though the coconut is as big or hard or heavy as it looks, don't be fooled because it's not that hard to open.
Well, if you've been around it forever, yes. But, for me, a new person, seeing how they do it. I mean, we don't live, everybody doesn't live with machetes and stuff until they get to the
It's a skill that's got to be learned.
show off. There you go.
That was for Sushama that I said that, because sometimes, people that don't live in Hawaii, they look at the coconuts and go, and then if they have a chance to even touch it and lift it, they go, oh my God, I'm going to open this.
I'll never do it. Yes.
Not that hard.
And guys, be adventuresome. Try and do all these things because they're well worth it. Now, one of the things that people come to me always is with, oh, I've got irritable bowel syndrome, I've got, paralysis, and I have numbness and tingling. But before you go for homeopathics, before you go for cleanses, please look at the foods, the poisonous foods in your life, which are the maintaining cause of disease. If you have any kind of chronic condition, you want to avoid these 7 things, to the best of your ability, and change your life. And it's not overnight gonna become fantastic.
It's 11 o'clock.
As the poisons leave your system, as they get excreted out via your urine, your skin through sweat, your feces through emptying your bowels out, you will find that slowly, like a flower opening up, you start to feel better. And that is when you use homeopathics to deal with the problems that still exist after the maintaining causes are gone. And then it'll work. But, you could temporarily cure a dysentery or colitis with homeopathic remedies. But if you keep putting these foods in, it's going to go right back to where it started. So anything with labels, don't eat. If you look at a food that has labels, that means it's made in a factory. You don't want that. Raw milk does not have labels, and an apple doesn't have labels. Stick to those foods. And over time, you'll grow to love those foods, the kale in your garden or from your farmer, or the meat you get from Stemple Creek or a local farmer. They're delicious.
It's wonderful seeing all of you, but I must leave now. So I'll wait to get the recording. Thank you.
Okay, we bid you adieu.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Sushma.
Okay.
Bye, Sunshine.
Bye. Hi, is that Margaret?
Yes, I'm here listening.
Oh, you sweet Margaret. Oh, I'm sending hugs out to you. I have not forgotten your remedies. I'm ordering them from your Australia, so it's going to take a while.
All right.
Okay, so now we're going to go to saturated fats versus trans fats. What are trans fats? Anyone know? Give me an example of trans fats, guys.
With animal fats. No, not animal fats. Bad fats.
Very bad.
Partially hydrogenated.
Yes, hydrogenated fats. Fats that used to be liquid, then they pass hydrogen through them on a nickel catalyst and to solidify them at room temperature. And so you basically messed with the chemistry of the fat, and then it's like Crisco. It'll have a shelf life again of 2,000 years, but it is a fat that'll destroy your heart, your veins, your arteries, your immunity. Trans fats are to be avoided, and they're not at all comparable to saturated fats that are natural. So many times your doctor or nutritionist will say trans fats and saturated fats in the same breath, as though they were similar or the same. Not even. Saturated fats are pure animal and plant fats that are solid at room temperature. They have very few double bonds between their carbons, so they're not unsaturated. They're more shelf stable. They have higher smoke points. They're great for cooking. You never want to cook with olive oil. Never, 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 ever. Cook with ghee, lard, tallow, coconut oil, palm oil. These are saturated fats. They are critical for your cell membranes to function. So if you have any chronic disease, your cell membranes are the exchange of materials, are at the edge of your cell, or whatever is called the inside of a cell. There's a a body outside which lets things pass through and back and forth, and they contain a lot of saturated fats. If they're replaced with trans fats, it will interfere with your healthy immune function, healthy cellular exchange of nutrition, oxygen, minerals, ions. Your hormones require saturated fats, whereas trans fats will interfere with hormone production. Suddenly you find yourself at zero libido because you've been eating, what's that butter called, the no butter butter?
Margarine?
There you go, margarine. I can't believe it's not butter. That's gonna destroy your hormones because you need saturated fats to make your hormones. Adrenaline, your cholesterol, which is the underpinning of all hormones, is present in animal saturated fats in particular. But plant saturated fats are important as well. They contain vitamin E. And so trans fats will interfere with hormone production. Trans fats cause inflammation in your body. Your body knows you're giving it Crisco or margarine, or I can't believe it's not butter. And it's going to raise an inflammatory response in your body that cannot be quelled until that fat has left your cell walls, until that fat has exited from your organs, as you replete your body with natural saturated fats, which will suppress unnecessary inflammation in your body. Saturated fat lower the good, increase the good cholesterol and lower the hard LPA. There's a molecule, there's a substance called the LPA fatty acid, consisting of fatty acids, which is a marker for heart disease, and it raises the good, light, fluffy LDL, low density lipoprotein. Whereas trans fats do the opposite. So heart disease is not caused by eating too many fats. Heart disease is caused by eating too many bad fats, polyunsaturated oils, trans fats, etc. So if you have heart disease, the first thing you want to do is get rid of your statins, because statins will interfere with the coenzyme Q production in your muscles. And what is your heart?
Muscle.
Yeah. People on statins die from cardiomyopathy, from a failure of their heart muscle. First thing you want to do is get rid of the heart medicines. You want to start to eat good saturated fats, and you want to take in a diet that is very, very non-toxic to your body, that enhances your immunity and immune system. Omega-3s. Omega-3s are the things that are present in fish, not fish oils as much as fish, fatty fish, mackerel, salmon. So 2 or 3 times a week, guys, go find your salmon or sardines or mackerel and eat them raw. What you do is you chop up these fish, mix them with a little bit of onions, garlic, some parsley, a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of olive oil maybe, and they're delicious on crackers or delicious on a lettuce leaf or on their own. If you can't do salmon, do sardines in a tin. Your immune system is enhanced by saturated fats, and trans fats will depress your immune system. I have many families with children who come to me for children with asthma, and they've been told by their doctors not to eat saturated fats. The second they start cooking with ghee, their asthma gets reduced dramatically. The second they start drinking raw milk, their asthma disappears, their eczema disappears, their immune system gets enhanced. In the elderly, joint function gets enhanced with saturated fats, and bones need saturated fats and the vitamins in them to lay down osteoblasts, the bone cells. Your prostaglandins, which are an important set of molecules that mediate your immune responses, need balance. They need to be balanced. You don't want too much inflammation. You don't want to want an anergic immune system, which lets anything and everything in, and that's a cancer diathesis. And you don't want a hyperinflammatory immune system, which, you know, basically kills your organs with fire. So prostaglandins are enhanced by saturated fats, and trans fats will destroy your prostaglandin balance. This is so important that I say, think of your fats as medicine. Go and get the best fats that you can, the best lard, tallow, ghee, butter, palm oil, coconut oil, as minimally processed as possible. Any questions?
So Sushma, instead of using olive oil to saute the onions, can you use coconut oil or one of those?
Yes, yes. Coconut oil, palm oil, lard, tallow, ghee, lard, tallow, ghee.
What's wrong with using olive oil? I didn't know that was a problem.
Yes, olive oil is a liquid oil at room temperature, and it has a very low smoke point. So it oxidizes fast, and it contains unsaturated fats, meaning fats that get easily destroyed by heating. Whereas ghee has a smoke point of almost 485 degrees Fahrenheit. So you will not destroy a fat in ghee by cooking it, whereas you'll destroy the olive oil with cooking. So use your cold pressed olive oil liberally in your salads, but not in your cooking.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
And the more saturated fats you get into your food, the less your inflammation overall is going to be. So palm oil has palmitic acid. It has the precursor to vitamin A. Coconut oil has vitamin E, but the animal fats have A, D, K, and E, and they're great for your cell membranes, your hormones, to quell unnecessary inflammation. They're good for heart disease, your immune system, and prostaglandins. And that's the difference between cis and trans fatty acids. This is a fatty acid which is not fully saturated, as you can see. Can you see my arrow?
Yeah.
Okay, my arrow is focusing on these two carbons. So fat is made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, same as a carb. Carbohydrates are made of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen too. They're just packed differently. You get your energy from carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, either fats or carbs. If you eat fats, and if you're eating, say, an olive oil or a canola oil, it has these double bonds here. These are like knives and daggers in your body if you eat too many of these unsaturated fatty acids. When the hydrogen in these oils is like this, located in the same direction, they kind of kink. They kind of kink because of the repellent force of these hydrogen ions, which all repel each other because they have the same charge. What the trans fatty acid making process, the industrial process, does is it takes this hydrogen and yanks it down thusly. So one hydrogen on top, one at the bottom. So it then straightens out. When it straightens out, it becomes solid at room temperature, and bugs don't like it. Fungi don't like it, and human bodies get destroyed by the trans fatty acids. This is what happens when you pass an oil over a nickel catalyst and pass hydrogen through it. It bonds in this fashion, solidifies, and then you have this goop, which is a solid mass, which is then cleansed and bleached and deodorized and all that and turned into Crisco. And they spend a lot of money marketing Crisco because they can, because it's super cheap to get cheap oil. Therefore, you have money left over to market and buy poor suckers, force poor suckers or compel poor suckers or housewives to buy this miracle fat, which then proceeds to cause heart attacks in people. So when you change your diet from a diet that had a lot of polyunsaturated oils or trans fatty acids to one that has saturated fats, your body is eagerly soaking it all in. But remember, your cells get destroyed every day and recreated. And that cycle has to occur in all the cells for you to heal. So there's no easy answers. You will not feel better overnight from eating good food. But as your organs regenerate, as your intestinal lining regenerates, all these wonderful nutrient-dense fats will heal you.
Sushma, I have a question about cell regeneration.
Yeah.
I know, or at least I've read about the regeneration of cells throughout the body over a certain time, and I've read different timelines. But how long does it really take if we change diet or alter our diet to have cell regeneration in different, either in organs or in the blood supply or any of the other parts of the body?
Okay, so yes, gametes, the stuff that your mother gave to you or to her children, the sperm and the ova, or the ovums are donated by your mother. So whatever your mother ate, she passed on to you. If she passed on defective stuff, that's not going to change. You have what you have. Your heart cells turn over every 10 years or so. There are neurons that turn over every 20 years or never at all. So some things will not turn over. But the rest of your body turns over in between 2 days to 2 or 3 months. So you should see your intestines, for instance, because a lot of food passes through your intestines. The cells slough off every couple of days. Your enterocytes change over. So as soon as you change your diet, you might stop bleeding from your intestines. If you had colitis, you might start to digest food better, because if you had an intestinal chronic disease, it gets addressed by food very fast. If you have a neurological disease, slower. If you got stuff like mercury and aluminum in your brain, that's far more difficult to take out of your brain cells. So depending on the organ, it takes a while. Your liver, you know, you can lose 90% of your liver and function perfectly fine, and your liver has the ability to grow back. So your liver is very susceptible to good food, and it'll protect you to the very end, even if you're eating terrible food.
Wonderful information. Thank you.
Yeah. And, you know, all of you want to look at yourself. My weak spot is my lungs. My lungs were just destroyed in the forest fires in Malaysia. And I know I need to do things that'll heal my lung cells, tissue at all times. For me, ghee and raw milk are the key. For somebody else, what's that?
Ghee and what?
Raw milk. Ghee and raw milk.
Oh, raw milk.
Yeah, for my lungs. That keeps my lungs functioning, my immune system, and my pulmonary immune system going. For different people, it might be different things, but some of these are wonderful foods that are really medicine. And once they displace the antibiotics, the trans fatty acids in your cell membranes and your organs, you'll feel better. How are some of these unsaturated fats and oils made? You think about a kernel of corn, guys. If you have a kernel of corn and you press it, nothing comes out of it. Oil does not come out of it. And yet you have in the grocery store shelves these bottles of pristine oil with not a speck of anything in them. What they do is they take, it has like 5% oil, and they take it out with hexane and other chemical processes from the corn. And so you're destroying an enormous amount of corn to get a minuscule amount of oil, so simply because it's subsidized by the US government. So we're backwards. We didn't used to do this. And because of these perverted subsidies, we're growing corn, soy, wheat, alfalfa, and these are all genetically modified. They're terrible, terrible crops. And you're using canola and corn to make oil. By taking that crude vegetable oil, you degum it, then you do caustic refining.
Nurse, we got an appointment.
Hi, Ralph. How are you?
Oh, how you doing?
I'm good, and you?
Yeah, been a while, huh?
How are you eating butter?
Butter, that's good.
Yeah. You eat your butter daily and your cheese.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so there's caustic refining, then the thing gets bleached, then it gets hydrogenated. So there's a huge process that goes to make corn oil. And in the end, you get this oil or shortening. that is just toxic. It's poison. Avoid all oils in cooking, folks. Industrial fats and oils. These are the liquid polyunsaturated oils, and they're the ones that cause uncontrolled reactions in the body. Margarine, Crisco. You're taking partially solid or partially hydrogenated oils, and they're inhibiting reactions, important biochemical reactions in your body. Someone needs to mute their phone, guys.
We'll just stay on the same medicine route.
Okay, maybe that's a good idea.
Yeah.
All righty. So
thank you. And you too.
all righty. Refined food diets versus natural versus refined fats. The refined fats, the unnatural fats, will cause your arteries to block, increase cancer, heart disease, increase wrinkles and premature aging. People who eat butter have beautiful complexions. There's a reason for it. People who eat margarine have immune system dysfunction, disruption of their prostaglandins. Children who are fed, I am going to ask you to mute. Someone needs to mute themselves. Okay, all righty. Liver damage. In children, you have depressed ability to learn. There's something called seroid storage disease, which is caused by these things, and sterility, damage to your reproductive organs, your lungs. I cannot tell you how wonderful I felt when I came stateside and started eating butter. My lungs felt greased and oiled and functioning so much better. Your digestion goes better with good fats because you need fats to digest proteins, to give you the fat-soluble vitamins you need to digest your minerals, help you with hormones. There are a lot of digestive disorders that happen due to the polymerization of these fats. Polymerization meaning the fats turn to plastic when they're cooked, and then you're eating them, and you've got these cooked plastic fats in your body. Increased levels of uric acid. So people get a lot of gout in their toes and ankles and knees and elbows. Impaired growth. Children have stunted growth. And lowered cholesterol. Low cholesterol is a bad thing. You need your cholesterol levels to be high when your body is under attack. If you have a cancer and your cholesterol levels are low, that means the cancer is going to get the better of you, because cholesterol is antifungal, antimicrobial, anti-cancer. It is the mother of all hormones, this molecule, and it supports your immune system. So having natural good cholesterol from egg yolks and salmon roe is super, super important. Super important.
Question.
Yep.
Sushma, you talked about earlier about I'm calling it your weak point. I can't remember your words about your lungs being a focus. How does one know what part of one's body is more sensitive than others? So what are some of the signs, and how do you know? And if you increase some of the nutrition, does that help? Like you mentioned, drinking milk and raw butter. Does that help ameliorate or improve that condition?
100%, 110%. In order to see what your, it's the weak link in the chain, I call it. Every person needs to look within themselves. You know, some of us cannot sleep at night. Some of us pee a lot. Some of us have troubles peeing. Some of us sprain their ankles a lot. Some of us tend to get more constipation. Some of us tend to get more diarrhea. These are what they call in homeopathy, the miasms that you may have inherited, lifestyle and habits, and everybody knows what their issues are. Some of us get headaches, blinding headaches. Some of us get, stomach aches at the drop of a hat, or can't digest certain things. So we know what our issues are, and we know what makes it better and what makes it worse. And once we have a underpinning of knowledge, like these fats are good for all sorts of chronic ailments, these vegetables or these minerals cooked in this way or grains cooked in this way are good for us, it lifts all boats. So your lungs, your heart, your immunity, everything gets affected by the sacred foods you eat. For digestion, broths are very important. For blinding headaches, typically a lot of times it is to do with constipation. It's like the pneumogastric axis. You're having troubles evacuating and you get blinding headaches. And so it's tied to your gastric symptoms. So things you do to improve your digestion: eat more enzymes, more probiotics, more fermented vegetables with every meal with your fats. Some people might have anemia. If they have anemia or congenital anemia, it helps to eat red meats or liver. Some people might inherently have low, just weakness. They feel weak, they have fatigue, maybe it's low B12, eat more liver. So we kind of know what our issues are. Some people might have skin issues. Skin issues means sulfur-rich vegetables, garlic, onion, things that heal. Lots of fats, saturated fats heal your skin. Those are very important for an eliminative organ that's being disturbed when you have, say, itching or eruptions on your skin, or they were suppressed at some point with drugs. Some people are allergic to drugs, and then they have a lifelong, I don't know, steroid allergy or prednisone allergy, and it manifests itself as yet another disease. To my personal opinion, 90% of the things that are happening to us today are caused by the effects of drugs, diseases we had never heard of before. That answer your question, Land?
Great, thank you very much. Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, so nutrients for brain development, for growing children, for people who are having the troubles formulating thoughts and ideas: vitamin A, cod liver oil, liver, butter, egg yolks, not from industrial animals, but grass-fed animals. Vitamin D, same thing: cod liver oil, lard, butter, egg yolks. Vitamin K, rich in butter, yolks, organ meats, natto, grass-fed animals. Choline, DHA, this is a long, very polyunsaturated fatty acid that when you're eating polyunsaturated fats, you want to eat them via food because it's packed in that food. It cannot oxidize. So you want to eat salmon, not as salmon oil or krill oil, but as salmon the fish, which is fatty. And then you ingest the polyunsaturated fat in its whole form. Zinc, red meat from grass-fed animals, shellfish, oysters. These are good foods for brain development. And you don't have to eat a ton of them. You just eat a little bit. Just eat a little bit.
So I wanted to add something that I learned some time ago, and I didn't know at first, and it had to do with selecting eggs from poultry. Mm-hmm. I just said, well, anything cage-free, that sounds pretty good. And then I started investigating the whole range of what's been labeled, not having contact with the farmer necessarily, but about grass-fed or range-free or no hormones added or protection from others. And I realized that I had to learn what the description was that people gave or what the products were being sold.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so many con jobs out there, folks, which is why talking to your farmer or going to a trusted store is a very retail outlet is a very important thing. Try and get your food at farmers markets. I know it's a pain, but the more you do that, the more you'll find ways of cooking, I don't know, turnips. Who cooks turnips? Only if you get them at a farmer's market. Yeah. And the yolks, the eggs. Big difference, big difference between pastured eggs and factory. The cage-free is a euphemism for a little opening in the factory. They never leave it, or they're all crowded in a football field-sized area that is all indoors. It's horrible, horrible. The lies that industry tells.
Yeah. Yes.
All righty. Liver. Liver compared to apple, carrots, red meat. This slide speaks for itself. If you want phosphorus, in 100 grams of liver, there's close to 500 milligrams and 6 milligrams in an apple. Iron, if you're short iron. Liver has 8.8 milligrams of iron. Did someone have a question? No questions. Zinc. Liver is a huge source of zinc. Vitamin B2. Learn to love your liver. Learn to get, a quarter pound, a half pound, 100 grams of liver even every single week from your butcher or farmer, and just eat it, guys. Hide it if you don't like it. Make pate, but you need to get your liver. And don't cook it too much because you're going to destroy the vitamins in it. The B6, B12, there's even vitamin C in liver.
Question. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Please finish what you're saying, and then I'll ask the question.
Oh, there's vitamins in the liver, and the less you cook the liver, the more of the vitamins you'll get.
Great. Thank you. My usual good source of liver was not present, and will come back next week. But in the meantime, I had some heart from, again, an excellent source. And I don't know how that compares. I mean, that's what I have, so that's what I'll use, and I'll cut up in small pieces and all the rest. But how does that compare with liver, other organs?
Yeah, so liver is a very different organ. Hepatocytes are a very different organ than heart. Heart is muscle. So basically, you're eating a very superior quality muscle meat when you're eating heart. It has a lot of, taurine. It has a lot of good stuff in the heart too, but it's not liver. It doesn't contain these levels of B2, A, C, B6, and B12. And 53,400 international units of vitamin A and 100 grams of liver. So nothing beats liver. And for the last 100 years, we've started throwing out the liver, and we eat the least nutrient dense, the muscle meats part of our food.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. What your grandma said was correct. Eat your liver. This is what you said. Land, you're saying eggs, there's the organic scam. They call them organic. They're actually factory farmed. They say cage free, but they've not seen the light of day. They're called free range or natural. These are all euphemisms for, they have their beaks cut off. It's permitted in organic. They have forced molting. That's permitted in organic. And they have almost no vitamins A, D, K, and E or microminerals because they're eating crap, not eating bugs. So a farmer by the name of Joel Salatin compared factory eggs versus his eggs, and he had 660% more vitamin E, 57% more A, 662% more beta carotene, and 2,262% more omega-3 fats. Big difference between supermarket eggs and pastured egg. Pay the extra $1 or $2 for the pastured eggs.
Update on Joe Salatin. I heard an interview with him. I've heard him several times, but I heard an interview with him a couple of days ago. And from his farm, he actually, people don't have other sources. He ships out some of the products that are produced and raised on his farm.
Yes. Nowadays, they've started shipping. They didn't used to do it before, but during COVID, they did. And that is fantastic for folks like us. You can order things from Polyface Farm. Please go to their website. They have turkeys and chicken, and they'll ship cross country even. But there are enormous number of good farmers here. Just cast a relationship with your farmer.
Sushma, regarding the eggs, you used to tell us that the organic eggs at Costco were a good source. Is that still the same?
If you don't have a choice between going to a store or not, get the organic and free range and pastured as much as you can, but nothing beats farm fresh pastured eggs. Costco organic is very much factory farmed, I would say.
They are, yeah.
Very much factory farmed.
I have a comment on the pastured eggs from Costco, which I used to buy, but I don't buy anymore because I read up on them as much as I could, sourced on the internet or wherever it was. And it was not confirmed that those eggs were qualified by an independent third-party source. Also, in physical qualities, the eggs, when I used them, were much paler than the pastured eggs that I've been getting from a better source recently.
Yeah. That is so true. And the organic standards, the stands have shifted on the organic standards. In the last 10 years, they have become abysmal because big factories want to take over the organic label. And so they're slowly passing laws that make, beaks cutting beaks off okay. Cage-free meats, they have literally, they can't get out. There's just a little window and they can call it cage-free. So there's all this cheating going on. Your best bet is to just find a farmer at your local farmers market and get eggs from them. We have tons of very good farmers markets in Marin and Sonoma, and lots of free range eggs. And the eggs should have this. You see how this is a raised albumin, and this is the supermarket egg, which is sort of loosey liquidy. You get what you pay for.
I wanted to suggest another option, which I've been using. There's a online, and it's actually nationwide, company called Grub Market. And they contact the local farmers. And if it's not local, they'll say not local. But they contact, and you can check out the individual farms of the products, and they identify whether they're either, they don't use euphemisms like natural, but they say organic or free range or things like that. And so they've been a wonderful source for me when I'm staying inside.
That's awesome. Consult those things. Consult those sites because they know.
But get them delivered.
Oh yes, yes.
Yes, they do. Yeah. Yes, they do deliver, and that's part of the advantage. And they don't add any taxes or special fees or things like that. And in fact, if you buy from them or through them, I can't remember how many points, they even give you a slight discount.
That is awesome. Guys, anyone that wants this quality stuff, get CSAs, get meat CSAs. Is the Real Foods Bay Area still going? Can someone in Marin tell me if they still selling, delivering? There's a company called Real Foods Bay Area.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. There's a lot of firms that are little guys, two guys in a truck that have these CSAs, and they deliver to your doorstep, like a basket of meat and eggs or vegetables and all that. So,
and a couple of them will deliver to certain drop-off points within your city.
There you go.
You have to go to those places and pick them up, but usually there are a few in a city, at least in San Francisco, there are a few, and that makes it easier if you can drive or pick it up or have someone pick it up for you.
Yeah, great idea.
Okay, Land, you could send me some information about getting the eggs, if you wouldn't mind, on the email.
Getting the eggs from Costco, or because the
the guaranteed pasture ones.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure of your question.
You said you have them delivered. If you could tell me how to get them delivered to me, because I can't drive now.
Right. So part of what I would check, and I'll post that information on a site, is something like Grub Market, which is one of the good sources that I use. You have to see or find out if they're active or available in your particular area or in a place where someone can pick it up for you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I'll put you in touch with people who do that also, Margaret, and they can deliver.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah, that's quality matters. All righty. Okay, that's the structure of cholesterol. It's a sterol, it's not a fat. And you see it has those rings, and one side is water loving. This is the water soluble side, and this is the fat soluble side, guys. So in a cell membrane, the inside of your cell has this fatty area and the outside is watery. So the cholesterol is an incredible molecule that forms part of your cell membrane so that it can selectively let in things that are soluble in water or things that are soluble in fat through channels, through equivalent channels. And it'll help. Cholesterol, the molecule, is very required to make your cell membranes, to make vitamin D, your hormones, your bile acids, and to give you brain power. So eat your egg yolks. Each egg yolk has 220 milligrams of cholesterol. And, the way I think about it is, like, if you don't have a choice, you eat whatever you can, but eat it, and then look for quality. Cholesterol is the mother of all hormones. It is used to make your pregnenolone, your progesterone, your reproductive hormones, pregnenolone, DHEA, estradiol, your testosterone. So all sex hormones are made from cholesterol. Your cortisol, your aldosterone, your corticosterone, what your adrenals make, is all made from cholesterol. And what does it do? It helps in regulating your mineral metabolism, your glucose levels, your blood pressure, literally your entire body biochemistry, healing and stress. And in each of these processes, vitamin A is needed. And the trans fats they actually not only don't contain vitamin A, they inhibit enzymes that make these vitamin A conversions, the enzymes needed for the conversion to vitamin A. So avoid trans fats, eat a lot of cholesterol in your diet through egg yolks, and you will have well-regulated metabolism, blood pressure levels, glucose levels, and better healing and stress.
Does heat affect the cholesterol available in, let's say, eggs if they're lightly cooked or poached or put in a stew or something?
Yes. Heat will not destroy, but definitely degenerate cholesterol. As much as possible, try eat them sunny side up or runny or over easy.
Got it. Thanks.
You get the cholesterol in as natural a form as possible, as raw as possible. And we'll talk about these diets, and then maybe we will go to Q&A, and I'll stop the recording. But here's where we differ from traditional diets. Traditional diets came from foods that were grown in fertile soil. Today, we have foods that are grown in NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, made from industrial fertilizer, which used to make bombs before. Traditional diets favored organ meats over muscle meats. Today, we favor muscle meats over organ meats. In fact, we have gotten rid of organ meats. Organ meats are so cheap and so super nutritious. You would have food as medicine if you ate nothing but organ meats, because nobody else wants them. So their loss is our gain. Animal fats versus vegetable oils. The traditional folks cooked largely in lard or tallow or schmaltz or butter or ghee. They knew not to cook in vegetable oils, and there were no vegetable oils because there was no chemical processing. There were coconut oils and palm oils and olive oils because you could press them and oil would come out. But they didn't make oils from corn and canola and all these things. They were made from the real oil seeds or animal fats. Animals were in pasture. Now animals are in confinement. The dairy products were either raw or fermented. That's a big difference for the increase in allergies, indigestion, is your milk is passing through 5 miles of pipe before it comes to you in a dairy, in a big dairy. You don't want milk like that. It's indigestible. Your children are going to get sick. You will get sick. You'll get diarrhea from such dairy products. So you want your dairy raw and or fermented to be easily digestible. Traditional diets had grains and legumes that were soaked and fermented. Now we have grains that are refined and extruded, at very high pressures and temperatures. You make these Cheerios and Cheetos, and and kids, children, moms are constantly giving children Cheerios as a health food. It's the most toxic food known to mankind. Traditional foods ate unrefined sweeteners like honey and maple syrup. Now we have MSG and artificial flavorings and refined sugar and all that, or corn syrup, worst of the worst. Traditional diets had lacto-fermented vegetables, and today we have canned vegetables, which are dead. Canned vegetables can last for 10 years. That means they're dead food. You can get calories, but that's about it. Traditional diets had not soda pop, but lacto-fermented beverages that sparkled and had carbonation. Now we simply inject it with carbon dioxide, which is toxic. Traditional diets had unrefined salt, and we're using refined salt. Traditional diets had natural vitamins in food. We're using synthetic vitamins. which go in one end and come out the other. You cannot digest vitamins in pill forms, no matter what anyone tells you. You cannot digest vitamins in pills. You gotta get them through food. Traditional diets use traditional cooking methods, long, slow boils or cooks, lot of fermentation. Now we use microwave. I can't get my family to stop using the microwave from time to time, for Christ's sake. Irradiation. Traditional diets used traditional seeds with open pollination, and we're using hybrid seeds, GMO seeds. It has destroyed the ecosystem of the Indo-Gangetic Delta, and it has resulted in people that are aggressive, that kill people, that put tires around women and burn them, that commit murders. When you are living in this petri dish of poisons, the entire Punjab, Haryana, northern India, it's poisoned. For 5,000 years, it was the most fertile delta in the world. And in the last 50 years, they called it the Green Revolution, fertilizer and seed. They've killed it. It's turned to desert. But there's hope, which is people like Vandana Shiva are making traditional seeds and distributing them to farmers and all. We all need to do that.